Today we are going to be answering maybe the most important question that any ADVer has ever asked, and that is, who are the best shitmons for farming clips on ladder? Now before we get started properly, I've got to give a little kind of honourable mention to Morwhile and Minun, because these guys used to be able to work on speed pass strategies, but those have since been banned, partially because of one of them. So, Minun is the simpler of the two of them and is not particularly game breaking. It's just an agility pass Zapdos, but it gets access to Encore, and is otherwise way worse. There honestly isn't much else to say. But Morwhile, on the other hand, was actually a centerpiece of the team that finally got Speed Pass banned. Basically, you would lead Zapdos, live pretty much any hit, click agility, and then you would pass it to Morwhile. Now what's Morwhile doing? It's resisting rock and it's resisting ice, both of which are types that Zapdos is weak to. Even has Intimidate for those physical attackers using Rock Slide. From there, Morwhile has access to Taunt, Baton Pass, and the dastardly Mud Slap, reducing opponents' accuracy and letting it fish for substitutes. Once it gets a substitute, it can pass this along with the agility to Hariyama, who is then free to click Belly Drum and sweep from there. Clamperl is a Pokemon with very few redeeming features in Generation 3 Overused. However, the one thing it has going for it is its access to the Deep Sea Tooth, which doubles its special attack and effectively makes it a terrible, slow, specially attacking version of Medicham. However, because Clamper's speed is glacial, it needs rigorous paralysis support in order to do literally anything. Even with Para, it doesn't have the bulk to live a strong gust of wind, so getting it on the field in front of a Paradmon is still going to be difficult. From there, you can click very powerful Surfs that then completely thud into Blissey. It's really terrible, but I had to mention it because of the X factor of Deep Sea Tooth, and also the fact that I have lost to this in a friendly, and I think it takes a special kind of personality to admit that online. Kingler is a Pokemon that you might not look twice at, due to the fact that it is terrible. However, it does have some traits that give it a genuine niche over the many other water types available to you in OU. Generation 3 being pre-physical special split is a blessing and a curse for Kingler, in the sense that it doesn't allow it to make use of its powerful base 130 attack to click stab moves. However, the water type is neutral against every physically attacking type in the game. This fact, coupled with Kingler's naturally high defense stat, actually lets it be a pretty good defensive water type. The real X factor of Kingler, though, is its access to the move Knock Off, which is very, very useful in slower and stallier games, since Leftovers is ubiquitous. Denying that passive healing can be massive for teams that are looking to make very small and incremental progress. Shedinja is a Pokemon that you might look at, think about the fact that Gen 3 OU is most famous for its toxic sand and spikes metagame, and think that this guy is achieving absolutely nothing. And you are correct. However, there is a little wrinkle to this, and that is the way that Generation 3 battle mechanics work. See, when you get KO'd, all other actions in a turn are cancelled, and since switching happens before any action can be taken, what this basically means is that Shedinja can switch in before the opponent acts, dies to a spike, cancel their action, and now you are free to bring in whatever you want. This can be hugely powerful for disrupting walls from healing, stopping a opponent from gaining momentum on you by boosting up or clicking substitute, and it lets you bring in a boost sweeper to set up on something that they're forcing out. It also lets you secure traps on certain Pokemon if you can bring them low, then bring Shedinja in, and then bring in your trapper. Speaking of trapping, there is a Pokemon other than the Diglett line that gets access to Arena Trap, and that is Trapinch. Something else that's pretty cool to note is that Trapinch actually has a whopping base 100 physical attack, which is 20 points higher than Dugtrio's base attack. This lets Trapinch get near guaranteed one-hit KOs on the likes of Tyranitar, Metagross, and Celebi. Now, the caveat of this, of course, is that Trapinch is hopelessly slow, and it requires paralysis support. Similarly to Clamperl, getting Trapinch on the field in front of these guys is also no small feat. But the satisfaction of bringing this little guy in on some top-tier OU threats is immeasurable, and I would highly recommend that anybody give it a go. The final Pokemon that I want to look at today is one that I actually got some pretty good use out of, and that is Wigglytuff. Now, you might look at Wigglytuff and think that it is pretty similar to Blissey. It's a normal type with a big HP stat, it gets Wish, gets Counter, gets Thunder Wave, and this is true. You can definitely use Wigglytuff to heal up teammates, take attacks, and dish out damage back against the physical threats, since even if they have a Lumberry, they aren't really incentivized to set up a second time in the face of Thunder Wave, giving you a juncture to click Counter and trade. However, something that Wigglytuff does have over Blissey is its access to the move Perish Song. Bulkier teams featuring Blissey can sometimes really struggle against Suicune last, since they don't have the immediate grunt to stop it from setting up all the way to +6 and then just resting off the damage. Here's where Wigglytuff comes in. Against offensive matchups, as we've discussed, it can use Wish and Thunder Wave and Counter to trade with physical attackers, keep the momentum up, and maybe heal up an important wall. But then, against stallier teams, you have this very powerful phasing option that doesn't depend on there being another Pokemon in the back to switch out to, and even better than that, will just win the game on the spot 3 turns from now. I wouldn't recommend using Wigglytuff on its own, but I could honestly see it having a niche on certain balanced teams as a backup Chansey, kind of like what Double Blob does with Snorlax and Blissey. Thank you very much for watching this video. I had a blast researching this and all of the PU mons on ladder, committing a little bit of low ladder terrorism, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.